we've got someone on our Skype right now who's going to be able to go over different TA analysis and everything that's going on.
Jonny Mac.
Jonny Mac back again.
Hey, John.
Gentlemen, how are you?
We're good. The markets kind of look like poo.
Yeah, indeed. I'm back off of vacation and I've come back to a bit of a SHIT storm, you could say.
Okay.
So interesting times.
I see you have CCW up here. A lot of speculation that news was going to come out today, and people even indicating sort of what the news would be. Has the news come out yet?
I haven't seen it hit the wire yet, Carl, but I am keeping an eye on it. The trading is interesting. It's been, to me, one of the more interesting charts lately. Can probably bring it up here. Oh, there it is. I actually have it up already. So can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
Is that chart displaying? Yeah. Okay. So, we've been in a correction phase after sort of a nice long uptrend, and it's been consolidating. It's given back quite a bit of its gains, as you can see, but, some of the things that I found interesting when I looked at it, if I annotate it here, we're seeing a divergence in momentum in favor of the bulls. So we made a lower high, a lower low here, but when it comes to momentum, we actually made a higher low, so that's a bullish divergence. We also made a lower high here, but we happen to make a higher high here. So again, we're seeing some bullish divergence in momentum. So that's always interesting. For me, that's something I kind of look for. And that, I believe, was actually, if you guys can see, I'll sort of zoom out on the screen, maybe it'd make it easier for people to see, but that was actually confirmed on the moving average oscillator, like your momentum oscillator. So I use PPO instead of MACD, but again, you can see we made again the lower low here, but it wasn't confirmed, and we actually had a trend line crossover. We're back above zero, first time in a while, so things are looking good for CCW. I would say obviously that's sort of that tells me the market is kind of excited. I don't know if there's a leak of news of exactly what news is coming out, but it's certainly showing some excitement in the market. Another thing to note too, some of the highest volume days we've seen in a while have been big bull moves where we've had a close near the high. So these guys right here, see these two volume spikes, and we have these nice candles coming into this trend. So I like it. Technically wise right now, I think it's strong, where it's just sort of consolidating in a fairly tight range right there. And if you actually watch the trading, the battle has been sort of around the 63, 64 level, and I think that's what the chart was saying as well. So every time it gets up here, you get some selling pressure. And what I expect is happening, guys, is we're probably getting some warrants exercised. I did bring up the market capitalization chart on that. So this is just a listing of all your shares outstanding on the stock, and you can see that it's actually slowly creeping up. So towards the end of June, early July, we were around 63 million. They did do a financing, I believe, about 2.2 million shares, but you see we're actually over 10 million shares gained. So there are some warrants hitting the market. That would be my best guess for what we're seeing here in the trading. You're seeing a lot of anonymous shares hitting the market, especially at 63. Yesterday there was a lot of, iceberg orders. The sellers kept showing up, and to me that looks like warrant holders slowly bleeding out into the market. So far there's been enough buyers to soak that up. So now it comes down to, is the news going to excite the market? And as always, I think the important for people to understand that expectations play a very big role. When the market has high expectations, it takes really good results to push the stock. So that's, one thing to be aware of if you're, if you hold CCW long. I happen to hold a very small position, not a big position, but I do own some. But one thing to, to always factor in is You know, are people buying in here just on expectation of news? You know, if the news doesn't excite them, a sell-off is always possible. We kind of saw that on Garibaldi. And I do know just there are a lot of traders in CCW as well. That's another thing to be mindful of, the trader mindset. Certain groups on the internet, they're getting in cheap. They sort of get a heads up that news is coming, and they're going to be selling the news almost all the time. So that's going to give you a lot of selling pressure as well. So that's, you know, you need some solid news to sometimes. Yeah,
it's scary because you have these warrants hitting the market, and you've got these traders. You know what I mean? So I mean, and then you're talking about expectations. This is definitely worrisome.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're two, I wouldn't call them red flags, but they're yellow flags. It's something to be mindful of. If you're holding position in the stock, just be sure, you know, be aware that there's some trading groups out there. They are holding a lot of stock. They're sort of, you know, aggressively promoting it. So, you know, hopefully for everybody that's long on CCW, the news is good. It surprises to the upside. I would say it is ripe for a move up. I think if it breaks this range, you know, you have a bit of a resistance here in the high 60s, and then, you know, we could easily get well into the 70s, and then you sort of have this resistance area at the top. So we had, you know, 86, 85, and 90. So sort of between 85 and 90, we call that a resistance band. And, you know, that would be the area that we'd want to eventually break. If you're a bull, that would be exciting. We'd be into sort of blue sky territory. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see, you know, if the news sort of exceeds the market expectations and how that all plays out.
So if we back this off, can we look at a 6-month chart?
That is, oh, sorry. That is a 6-month chart.
Okay, I just couldn't see the bottom. Yeah. So basically, I think that last financing was at 20 cents with 30 or 35 cent warrants. Is that accurate? So back in May.
Okay. I don't know the answer off the top of my head on that one.
Okay, I'm going to make an assumption that's what it was. I could be wrong, so please don't quote me. But if you go back to early May, these are the type of opportunities we want right here, because you got groups of people, smart money getting in around 20 cents in a PP with warrants at 35 cents with strong promotion behind it, hitting a top. Did we hit 90 cents?
It hit 90 cents, yeah.
90 cents is our top, and now everybody's selling, sitting on their risk-free warrants around 35 cents. So they're basically at a double right now. This is the type of situation you want, friends. Down here, you know, around 20 cents. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, obviously anyone in that financing did well, and yeah, they definitely have an opportunity to take off their initial capital. So if you're putting capital into these raises with warrants, you get that capital out. If it's after a profit, it's bonus, even if it's risk-free essentially. So, you know, you're not obligated obviously to exercise warrants. If things are working out, you can exercise. If they're not working out, you know, there's no obligation to do so. So it's kind of the perfect situation. You know, we saw a little bit of that discussed with Garibaldi. You know, Warren Irwin came out and basically said, I'm out of the stock. All my free trading shares are out of the stock. And now I'm sitting risk-free on warrants. So, you know, Warren Irwin, Garibaldi, if things pan out the way everyone, you know, long on Garibaldi hopes they do, you know, he has that exposure. And if things don't pan out well, which obviously I hope is not the case, then, you know, he's not going to lose any money. So, yeah, smart money likes to, you know, preserve their capital or manage their risk. And, you know, the warrants, getting in on these financings, obviously it gives you that opportunity to still participate in the upside, but with basically zero downside exposure. You're not exposed to the risk.
Do you want to switch gears and maybe we'll check out the weed chart, because that's our sector leader in cannabis.
Yeah.
We've been hammered here the last couple days. What are we looking at? Close to a 40% retrace to the downside. Sector-wide, I'd say, is probably a pretty good number to throw out there. Would you say, Brandon?
Easily.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah. So from the high, Carl, from the high of where weed hit couple weeks ago to yet the low of yesterday, that was a 37% retracement, so it's pretty significant for sure. Seen a lot of these cannabis plays give back a lot of their gains. I would say Canopy has probably held up better than most. Yesterday we had an interesting, after a sharp sell-off, we had an interesting rebound, and the stock opened way down. We were right at the 100-day moving average, so you would look for that to be support. And actually, if you look at the chart, what we've probably seen, we've been able to pivot our old support to resistance, basically. So, this would have been back in June, where it hit a high in the high 40s, and it bounced back. And now you see on the way up, it tested that, and we basically held that as support. So that was sort of an expected support area, and especially with the stock gapping down that much. So it closed up above, would have been what, 54.50 area, and then we were opening under $50. It opened around 48 and change. That's
John,
a big gap down. Yes.
I want to interrupt you because you did mention you hold CCW, and I think news has just come out. So if you want to look at it, go for it. Brandon and I can take over here for 2 minutes. Want to respect the fact that you have an open position, and you might want to act on that.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'll take a quick look if you guys want to chat away.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, we'll switch over if you want to put. I don't know if we can put the NDI over just to put the
let's leave it
live
up.
L2 of it.
Oh, okay. If you could just leave a live L2 of CCW up. Well, no, he's got to look. He's got to look at the news.
No, that's fine. I got it up there. You guys you should be able to see it now.
Okay, thanks, John.
Oh, we're gonna go back there. Perfect.
Well, I guess we're gonna find out here, Brandon. If
well, I'm gonna watch CCW because I have an open position on it as well.
This is cool, live TV.
Yeah, just as should we read the news?
So look at that. You got a huge. You got a lot of stock to get through at 66 cents.
Yeah, and 67 as well.
Well, why don't you? Do you want to read the news out?
Yeah, I'm just looking at if they're dumping this or not. Because what did it get up to today? I hadn't been looking. The high 67 was the high today. Blew right through that, so it's not anywhere near that now. No real bids are coming in from this.
No. Well, read the news. Can you pull that up, Brandon?
It should be in our chat rooms by now. One sec. Live, coming from you from Toronto.
Hey, you know what? This is amazing. You're not going to get this on BNN. We've got a guest with amazing
Canada
content.
Cobalt is pleased to announce that drilling 1.5 kilometers east-southeast of the Castle Mine is an underexplored area perspective for a new deposit type. Has intersected well-mineralized felsic Archean units at a downhole depth between 77 meters and 163 meters, as well as mineralized mafic to ultramafic units above and below over significant widths starting from surface.
Oh, crap.
So I'm going to stop it there because we're going to start getting into all the different terminologies that I know the true mining guys out there are going to look at and like, why on earth did you say it like that? But it doesn't seem all that crazy to me.
Well, they're waiting on assays. So
yeah,
these are not assays.
So yeah,
these are not assays.
I think the expectation, guys, was assays, and it looks like they're issuing guidance that within the next 7 to 10 days we'll see assays.
So I wonder if this will lead more speculation, like if these traders will hold the stock, waiting for assays.
Right now, I think we're seeing a definite push down.
Oh.
RBC seems to be an aggressive seller so far. It's early, but yeah, RBC definitely pushing it down.
There we go.
Yeah.
Creating yet another sell on news event live here.
Yep. It's almost like you said it was going to happen that way.
Yeah. There's yeah, that's right. Well, there's your house positions. RBC quickly becoming sort of the second. So earlier, Anonymous and Haywood were both leading the pack, and now RBC way up there. You do see Anonymous buying a lot, though. I don't know if everyone could see that Anonymous was quickly moving up in the ranking there. So there is an Anonymous buyer scooping some shares, which is always nice to see. But definitely some selling pressure here.
Dude, look at this. Like, people, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to swear, guys. People got to fucking learn, man. This is what happens. All the red flags are there from all these momentum traders on all these different groups telling everyone about the news and what the news is going to be, and now they're just shitting on you. Literally selling.
They do it every single
That's an assumption, but you got to get familiar with who's saying what and the outcome. What they say and the outcome. This stock is down 17%.
And we were just at it was 0% when we first looked at
Yeah,
it.
but you know what? In our chat rooms, we keep it real and we talk about both sides. I mean, we warned our community that certain groups are out there talking about the news and potentially could see a sell on news, and that's what you have right here. Anywho.
Anywho, yeah. Well, I can't say I'm surprised. Like I said, yellow flags earlier for sure. You could argue red flags, but definitely, it's never comforting to see sort of a trading dominated chat room taking big positions, because those guys are always basically going to be selling the news. So, unless you have a lot of buyers that are excited by what they see, and, it doesn't look like we have that right now, you get a big drop in price. So, yeah, we're now down 20%, which is pretty significant on the day.
And someone's selling into the 50s there. So, okay, well, Jonny Mac, let's look at the positive side here. So you've got a sell-off from traders, and now you have some speculation that assays are going to come in the next 2 weeks.
7 to 10 days per the news release. Yeah.
Okay, 7 to 10 days. So, there's going to be some opportunity here. There's going to be another leg of speculation into assays. What
my
would be a support line?
expectation, Carl.
Yeah.
I was just going to bring that up. My expectation would be, we'll have to update this chart here just a second. So we're right at the 200 day right now. Yeah. So we're right at the 200 day right now. So there's your, that's basically your support. In the past, we got some weak bounces off here and it didn't hold that well. I would look at this date here. I don't know how come my inspection tool's not working. There we go. So 47.5 is a low the last time it dipped. I would look for a support zone there. And hopefully, if you're a CCW long, again, I have a very small position. I would want to at least see us, not get past this last low, at least set a higher low, and, hopefully pivot from there. It is still early too, buyers could come in, but right now I would say it's not looking great. Obviously some people were just sitting waiting to sell the news. Someone from RBC definitely with a bigger position. I'm sure I could go back and look and probably find some RBC accumulation down here. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to do that right now, but I wouldn't surprise me if someone from RBC had been buying this dip and they were waiting to sell it. So
and for those who just are tuning us in, because we had a little bit of a spike there as people are introducing this, Jonny Mac is breaking down the TA for us, for those who are wondering who is this other voice behind all this TA.
Very professional of you to reintroduce Jonny Mac. And we are now minus 24.
I laugh, but I own a position.
Well, Jonny, did you get out, man?
No, I was, I didn't get out. So not good timing for me. But like I said, very small position, almost negligible for me. But I'm sure there will be a bounce here at some point, and we'll look to see how is the market shaping up looking into assays. So we have the next 2 weeks, and unfortunately, the market conditions we are in as a whole, if we sort of look at the S&P 500, just look sort of pivoting a little bit here, things are a little bit ugly out there in the markets. We had a big sell-off yesterday, a rare gap down on the S&P 500, quite a significant gap down actually, break even. The buyers did buy that dip, but you did see that we started to sell off again towards the end of the day. Well, you won't be able to see that on this chart, but it was a sort of a profit taking towards the end of the day. So what we want to see, these hollow red candles are nice. You want to see bulls buying the dip, so it got pushed down quite a bit below its previous low, but buyers did buy it, which is good. But what we were looking to see today, which we did not get, was follow through. So you see today that we opened lower than yesterday. We tried a rally, and then it's been sort of stuffed, and now we're pushed down. So we do have some buying action coming in there late in the day. This is the sort of the 5-minute chart, and you could kind of see this coming yesterday. So here's our gap down. It started to recover, started to make some higher highs, higher lows in the short time frame. We were getting overbought on this really short time frame. You see a lot of these upper wicks on the candles, so that's all profit-taking sellers starting to make themselves known, and then they pushed it down. So that tells you after this dip that there just wasn't enough buying momentum to sustain, and we're back into sort of a corrective phase. So we are off, at least off the lows, but to me this is looking still fairly weak right now. So it's caution for sure. Some people take the they take the philosophy that I want to be buying when everyone else is scared, and that's that's a legitimate strategy. I think anyone that bought some of the dips on the marijuana stocks yesterday, especially if you're a day trader, you did well. If you were buying this gap down on weed, for example, there was quite a swing in money that was to be made. But again, very similar to the S&P 500, we had this hollow white candle indicating buyers buying the dip, and it just couldn't follow through. We sort of ended up bouncing off the same resistance level. I'll give you a 5-minute view. More or less a triple top here. Ooh. 1, 2, 3 times at the same level. Just couldn't get through, and now we're back into sort of a corrective phase. So a number of people in the market have made commentary that there's a decent correlation right now between the S&P 500 SPY and weed. I would agree with that. It's a fairly good correlation. They are tracking each other somewhat well. Although earlier today it's not an exact correction. I found the weed stocks were sort of a little bit sideways, whereas the S&P 500 was continuing to go down. But now you see that they're sort of catching up and dipping a little bit. I did have a chart up.
John. We got 1 minute.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, one thing I wanted, before everyone loses their marbles on this, I wanted to sort of make note of something. Let's see if I can bring it up here. Where are we? See if I can get this in 1 minute.
Yeah, no worries. Just so everyone knows, you can probably, I'm going to ask Jonny Mac if he can join me in our Sunday Night Live in our private Facebook group. And if he's available, we can continue on with this stuff and look forward to other things in the markets.
Oh, it's not going to work. Oh, I typed the symbol in wrong. Sorry, bear with me, guys.
Yep.
Hey, no worries, man. I love seeing this stuff and watching
so amazing.
CCW explode in front of our face.
And you own it. Did you get out?
No, I'm on the show.
Jesus.
What I'm trying to do is bring up the equity put call ratio in the U.S.
Oh, the volatility?
Chicago. Not the volatility index, but that's another one. I was just trying to do some sentiment indicators here. See if there we go. Okay. So what you're seeing here on the top, we have the S&P 500 as represented by SPY, and then on the bottom we actually have our equity put call ratio. So for anyone not familiar with options, you have calls and puts. When you're buying calls, you're bullish on the stock. When you're buying puts, you're bearish. So what this is measuring is the ratio of the people entering call positions versus put positions. The higher this number, the more people are entering put positions, which means the higher the number of people that are bearish on the market. So one thing, before everyone feels like, the floor is falling out and this is the end of the bull market, we are in an area where there's a lot of really bearish sentiment. So we're hitting these highs. You see these anytime we hit, so the higher this number, the more bearish basically. So the last time we seen a spike, we had a big dip in the price. this put-call ratio went very high, and then we recovered from that. And the same, all the mess that we had earlier in the year when we had this big dip, the put-call ratio got high again, and we recovered. And we had a really big spike in bearish sentiment on that second dip, and again, it recovered off that. So sentiment is contrarian, or I guess I should say sentiment when it hits its extremes is contrarian. So, you know, when everyone is really elated and euphoric, when it's the hookers and blow type mentality, that's the kind of time to be nervous. And when everyone thinks that the world is coming to an end, that's the time that, you know, you can be bullish with some caution. So just looking at some of these spikes, you can see in the past when we've hit sort of these relatively high areas of bearishness, again, the higher on this chart, the more bearish, we are getting some volume coming in. And the other thing I will note too, although we've set a higher low from the, a lower low from the last time, the last dip, we did set a higher high, or a higher low in momentum. I don't know if everybody can see that without me annotating, and I'm probably going way over time here on you guys, but there's your higher low there in momentum and your lower low. So that's not being confirmed. That doesn't necessarily mean that this isn't gonna, you know, continue lower, but it is one sort of encouraging sign. And I do like that we're, you know, the bearishness is quite high right now, so we could start to get into a situation where you know, you have people moving in to take advantage of those that are capitulating. So just another perspective to offer on the overall markets.
Well, that was amazing.
Yeah,
Jonny Mac also referenced hookers and blow. Also amazing. CCW is sitting at 51 cents. And
covering a little bit, yeah.
I'm hoping that Jonny Mac his schedule is open on Sunday night, because I'd love to talk more about this stuff. Just him and I, and some other friends in our Facebook group, private Facebook group. Follow the Money on Facebook. So I won't put Jonny Mac on the spot here, but I will be working behind the scenes to get him to come and join me on Sunday Night Live.
Right.
So should we wrap it up, Brandon?
That's a full wrap up. I hope everyone enjoyed the show.
Jonny Mac, thank you very much.
We'll be back again soon. Thanks again, Jonny Mac.